You're here to find out if the Qi35 is right for you with no opinion, with the best robot in the industry. Keep watching.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, isn't it? Everything's coming out right now. So
Everything.
this is the new TaylorMade. Looks great, by the way.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it really does. I
Let's
really
talk
like
about
the look of it.
It's the bit like a carbon, like true carbon fiber.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray color. No weird colors on the top or the bottom. I mean, kind of like that. A tiny bit of green in there, but nothing really noticeable.
And let's talk about the naming convention, Qi35, right? So this is the 4th generation of stealth carbon face.
Right.
And it's got twist face in it as well, so it's got lots of tech, but Qi35, and I've seen a couple of videos out already that haven't got it right. So Qi35 is 3-5 put together. It's nothing to do with the year 35 or anything else. It's 3 is form, function, fit.
Right.
So it's kind of the shape, what we're doing for it, and then fitting. And then the 5 is the 5 head options. And the 5 head options are actually a little odd. So you've got basically core model, which we're going to test today, LS, Max, and then Max Light. And you're like, all right, what's the 5th one? It's the head that we're using. It's the Select Fit, which is the built-in fiducials on the face.
Yeah.
And that really helps us with our
It's great with a robot. Yeah, fantastic.
It means that we're going to get the most accurate data on center strike.
Right. We actually use this to dial the robot in a little bit because we know this. You know, these markings are dead center, right? So we know exactly where the center is. Yep. We know exactly how far off everything is, so it's kind of handy. And
then we look at the bottom, and I like this feature they've done here. You see how these kind of triangles set up?
Yep.
It creates a triangle.
Right.
They're different shapes for each model. So the LS is tied together, the Max is kind of wide, then you've got the Light who's got a bit of a color change around the back. So you kind of, just looking at the head, you know which one it is just looking at that.
Interesting.
And we've gone back to the speed pocket.
Right.
Which I like that. I mean, we know that helps with low shots in the face.
Absolutely.
You know, we've got carbon face technology, twist face technology, we're going to get the most out of this.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here,
Yeah, they've also changed the head weights a little bit, nothing crazy, but it's enough to kind of note when we do the detail that we do.
A little bit lighter than they were before?
Yeah, everything's kind of changed up. Actually, multiple manufacturers have changed their head weights this year.
Yeah, even Ping, who's typically been a little bit heavier, is actually getting a little bit lighter. So everyone's kind of going that direction.
As I say, I love the look. Simple. It is a little different shape this year again. What do you think about it?
I don't mind it actually. I mean, it looks a little bigger in the core model, but it's a nice shape. There's nothing really strange for it. It's a little deeper. Obviously, they're trying to get the MOI up a little bit in this model. And the Max is even a little bit bigger than this.
Yes.
But they all look good to me. I mean, they're nice, clean shapes.
And let's kind of talk a little bit about the weighting system again. We've got 3 grams up front, 13 in the back, reversible. So that's going to change.
So you can move the CG obviously forward and backwards a little bit by making this up higher and lower. Obviously, the more weight you put forward, you get more ball speed, a little lower launch and lower spin, but you lose forgiveness and MOI goes out the window. So it's always a trade-off.
And we have the luxury of having an MOI machine and having Tom Mays work out CG location. So this is 8,978 MOI.
Yep.
So pretty
high, yeah.
For a core model. And then we've got 1 inch back from the shaft axis, 1.01 inches.
Which is pretty far, actually.
Right. It's a little further than the other core model that we've already looked at in our robot test.
Yep.
So that means that it's possibly a little more forgiving, possibly a little higher spin, possibly a little higher launch. Just kind of adds all in there, theoretically, should we say.
In theory, There's lots of other variables, but
we're going to test the 10.5 degree head again. 0 face angle, 0 angle of attack, 0 path. We're going to go center, 3/4 of an inch toe, 3/4 of an inch heel. We didn't mention this in the first test, but we're basically using the Cool Club's blue shaft, 60 gram mid-profile for this speed test.
Right.
And it's
we're going to vary that. We're using a lighter shaft, a 50 gram shaft basically in the 75 mile an hour test, 60 in this 95, and then we'll use a 70 gram in the 115.
Yeah. So we get the right amount of droop and deflection.
Similar to the same amount of flex that somebody at that speed would be using.
Yeah. So we actually get some results that help you make better choices. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do here right now is Glenn is working. We've done the test already back of house. He's going to run a shot from each section so the guys can see it on the screen. And we're going to kind of talk about the numbers after that.
Yep, perfect.
So let's run the center test. We'll fire up the GoPro and we'll see the robot hit from the first spot. All right.
Here's your favorite part. Get the load ball on.
The load ball, the ball loader. If you haven't gone and watched the previous product that we tested, we've already done this. Check it out. This is not the only driver on the market, as you know.
And once we get through all these, we'll go back and kind of review, by like core ones and the ALS versions and see comparatively how they are.
Well, this is embargo day, so we're just kicking off with the first driver. We have got so much testing to do. Stay tuned. All right, Glenn, center shot. Okay, tucking down the left, but barely.
Barely.
Just a tiny bit. So let's talk about the lie angle on this is 56, so it's a little flatter than the other model that we've tested in the same, area of driver. Go on.
And like we mentioned with the other one too, the lie angle is one of the variables that they use in manufacturing to determine, how much draw bias, right? So you make it more upright, as opposed to an iron where you're hitting the ground and digging in, a heel or toe, club's on a tee. So you get to adjust that, and that changes the trajectory of the ball.
Yeah.
Curve right and left more than anything.
And people probably don't know, we've had this robot for a little while now. If you've watched this on Instagram, you've kind of seen some videos. We've been dialing it in, trying to figure out how to get some good data. So we had to find a midpoint with the driver with this specific golf shaft.
Right.
So that we actually get the benefits of lie angle with driver test.
Right.
So
we set the robot set up the same no matter what club we put in there, right? Because that lie angle, we don't want to set it to whatever the lie angle is because you're negating what they're trying to do with it. So. Yeah, they're all the same.
And I looked at those numbers. They're almost identical to the average, which is great.
Yeah.
138 ball speed. Again, we've only got 1 point of reference for that, and this is identical to it. So that's good. 10.9 launch, same again, right in the middle there. 2,400 RPMs, just a hair under. Minus 0.2 average tilt. So this thing is almost arrow straight as an average from the center.
I mean, if you look at this shot, this shot was pretty straight, right? There's a tiny bit left, but it doesn't move much.
Yep.
And this driver, we adjust the line, and the straight ones are pretty much straight.
There you go. So you can see it on the graph.
So not a lot of bias in the standard setting without changing the hosels and all kinds of other things. Yeah. But
if you
apples to apples,
0, 0, 0,
0, 0, 0, right? And
it goes
it's going to go pretty straight. Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's carried 227 yards again, and we've talked about this, distances and everything. We might see some couple of yards here or there with models across the board.
Yeah, but it's more dependent on how you swing. If we change the robot to 5 degrees up, we're going to gain 10 yards. Is that driver any better? It's the same driver. Right. So it's not really apples to apples.
This is just really giving you a nice neutral baseline.
Yep.
Okay, so next test, Glenn, we're going to change the name of it. So you'll see the dot change. We're going to see the T move 0.75 inches. It will drag across the track, and then we're going to hit one out of the toe from there.
Yep.
And we can see on the graph here, on the other chart, we can see that the ball stays down the right a little more. We had a couple cross the line, but mainly stayed down the right, and that's kind of like twist face built in, so the face is more open than the center, which is like roll and bulge, but an extreme version of it. What do we get there? 0 zeros across the board, 19 millimeters in the toe. Incredible work, Glenn. And launch and spin, yes, that is about the right average. Good. So in the toe, we lost 1% of speed. And we've talked about that before.
It's pretty impressive.
Very, very
actually.
good. So everyone's kind of figuring
this
out.
Previously in the last one, 10 years ago, that'd be a lot different.
Right.
Whereas the center, 10 years ago, a little bit different.
Yeah.
But,
launch, it popped up half a degree, just a hair over half a degree.
Yep.
Spin, it gained 10%. And I find this is incredible because a toe shot would normally be just this knuckly thing that dives over and whips over, especially in older drivers when it would torque more, right?
And you lose a bunch of carry, especially, right?
Bunch of carry. And we basically have kind of a wash on carry, minus 3 yards. We did get a little more draw, but it started so much more right that it's kind of squared itself out again.
Twist face worked.
And we gained spin. So it's like staying in the air for that shot that's kind of starting
but not a lot, just it's a small bit. So it's a couple hundred RPMs.
200 RPMs, right? So which you'd be happy to see in a golf ball change.
You almost don't see that in the flight.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. All right, Glenn, let's take it across to the heel and see what you got, mate. So we're going to rename it. We're going to move it across 1.5 inches to equal the 0.75 across to the heel now, and see what we get. And we're going to actually have a look at the graph while he's kind of messing around here. And the heel ones, we talk about heel and gear effect coming back left. Again, with twist face, we're going to see a little less of that because it's going to start more left, right? And it was a little more, sporadic with the heel. Maybe there's one in our first test there, our bigger test that kind of stayed.
What they've done by doing this, though, I mean, that carving low kind of ball that we used to see, that kills distance, right? Because you get a lot of low launch, so that doesn't help carry. Then you get a bunch of spin. It usually added, this is only adding a little bit of spin.
Tiny bit of spin.
If none, right?
Actually, no. It's
nothing.
Square.
Yeah. So pretty good.
Yeah. Let's see the ball floating. see the wrist, well not even the wrist, that's the forearm in action there. When we get this thing dialed in, we'll be able to kind of release the club properly.
Oh, you can do swings like that, but for this test, we're trying to neutralize everything. Right?
Yeah. Oof. All right, so did start left, and we did get the gear effect back down. So this is one that's going to look more like that very initial dot there, nearest to -14 on the chart.
Back to square.
On literally identical 0, 0, 0, 20 millimeters heel. Great test, Glenn, again, killing it over here with the robot. And the numbers are perfect.
Yep.
Speed, we lost 3% of ball speed. Actually pretty impressive.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, up the heel is not the best place to hit it. Matter of fact, that's kind of the worst place to hit it.
And we also got to remember, I know this is their 4th gen now.
Right.
TaylorMade are working with a different material to everyone else. No one pushed them into it, right? But it's their choice.
Yeah, you know, when they initially did it, I was thinking that's kind of a brave move and stuff. And obviously, it takes some time to get up to it. But we kind of maxed out. I mean, Callaway's doing great stuff with AI and stuff. But, what can you do with titanium? So there's got some runway on how they can still improve this.
Yeah.
And from year to year, we have seen that.
Well, this is a little better than
this is
than
quite a
most.
bit better, yeah.
Launch angle, we lost nearly a degree, not quite. So actually, that's kind of across the board from toe to heel to center, 1.5 span.
Yep.
Didn't really change in launch enough to notice. Spin, almost identical, -1%. So that's incredible that you hit the heel, you should get that crazy gear burning up in the air, washed, just straight square. Tilt, we did get a little bit of right bias, and we saw that with that golf shot you just saw on the screen.
Yeah, just kind of fade a little bit. Yep.
So, and it's kind of because
you want a little bit of that because you want to get closer to the middle.
Right, you want to
just
finish
get a
up
lot
where
of that,
your
and you lose all your
target
speed, right?
Yeah.
So.
And we lost exactly the same as we lost on the other core driver, 15 yards.
Right.
So you get what you get out of the heel, but it's a pretty forgiving driver.
Yep. Little less, pretty neutrally biased in the center.
Yep.
Obviously, you can look at different models and change things to make that more, I'm probably going to look at the max in this version, to be honest with you. I've got a 9-degree max, which is more draw bias, so.
Yeah. Well,
I got one for everybody.
Hang around and see that test, because we're going to test it. We're going to test everything. Make sure that you keep watching all of our reviews, get information before you just walk into a store and buy a golf club. Head to Cool Clubs if you want the best fitting experience enhanced by Sportsbox AI, or head to a worldwide golf retail location. Check these things out on the shelf and get one in your bag.